Hello everyone. I would like to thank to the organizing committee of the conference, the fourth InGlobe conference in Antalya, and send my kindest regards to all of you listening to my presentation there. The title of my presentation is the city of Istanbul as a setting in short fiction, and particularly I have chosen two short stories written by two women writers, two contemporary women writers. The first short story is Mahursaz Semaim, and it was written by Stella Acımak. And the second is When Solmaz Was Fading, and it was written by Nilüfer Açıkalın. Istanbul has always been a tempting, satisfying, and enriching scene for fiction. The history, location, geography, culture, and people of the city provide a valuable source of inspiration for the men of letters. Many novels, short stories, and poems are written for and about the city by various poets and authors from all around the world. The well-known novels like Istanbul and The Museum of Innocence by Orhan Pamuk, or Istanbul Passage by Joseph Cannon. The Birds Have Also Gone by Yaşar Kemal. Constantinople by Edmondo de Amicis. The Sultan's Seal by Jenny White. Last Train to Istanbul by Ayşe Kulin have all been set in Istanbul, and narration in these novels has been carried out with reference to either today's Istanbul or the city in the past. Or I'm listening to Istanbul by Orhan Veli. Tell Me About Istanbul by Nazım Hikmet. Istanbul by Ivan Bunin. Poems from Istanbul by Morris Fani are examples of poems written to express the poet's feelings about Istanbul. The literature includes short fiction that tells stories set in this marvelous city, and this present study aims to explore Istanbul as a setting in contemporary fiction by women writers. And as I have pointed at the beginning, the two stories chosen for this paper are When Solmaz Was Fading, and Mahursaz Semaim. It is suggested that the setting in these stories contribute to the themes, characterization, and plot of the whole story. So, to begin with, I guess it's better to talk about a setting as an element in fiction. Analysis of fiction requires exploration of a number of elements like plot, characterization, setting, symbol, irony, point of view, and theme. And these elements of fiction are usually connected to each other in a number of ways. And furthermore, some of them are dependent on the other. These elements not only contribute to the narration, but also to the development of one another. For instance, the elements of plot and character are interdependent. One cannot be described without reference to the other, and likewise both of them contribute to the fascination of a literary text. Before the analysis of the settings in the short stories selected for this paper, it is necessary to explain the elements of fiction with an emphasis on the element of setting. So setting is related mainly to the time and place of the events, but it's in addition to the time and the place, the atmosphere, the historical background, the mood of the story, or a particular social circumstance emphasized in the story is also related to the setting, to the analysis of setting in a short story. So, to begin with, the first story, the short story entitled Mahur Saz Semaim, is written by Stella Acıman. She's a novelist, short story writer, and businesswoman who was born in Istanbul to a Jewish family. And she was first admired by her novel, Bella. The setting of this story centers on the city of Istanbul, which is described by means of personification. The story is told through a first-person point of view, and the narration describes Istanbul as a man she found attractive and lovely in the past. The personified city is someone whose past is missed and current condition is unappreciated. The city is described with reference to both past and present. The narrator is clearly longing for the past and has decided to run away from the current state. In the exposition, the city's well-known attraction called Rumeli Hisarı, a fortress located on a hill at the European side of Bosphorus, just north of the Bebek district. The fortress was built by the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II in 1451 before he conquered the city. The narrator recalls sitting in her favorite tea house and watching across the Asian side of the city covered with Judas trees. She contrasts the past and the present in terms of the purple color of the trees over the hills in springtime and misses the past. She points that when she fishes in Arnavutköy, the opposite shore is today full of masses of buildings instead of the purple flowers. She argues that her attachment to the city is due to the Judas trees, and now she feels as if that bond is broken. She suddenly recalls the Arnavutköy strawberries and laments for missing the odor and taste of them. She regrets that she can grow in the small secret gardens that are hidden among the high apartments in the district. The narrator describes the beautiful taste of Bayrampaşa art to touch. The smell of the Turkish coffee cooked in copper pot, which has now been replaced by espresso, cappuccino, mocha of big chain stores. The Yeşilköy district's spacious streets, ever-blooming roses, pavilions, waterfront residences, reminds her of the days when she cycled and enjoyed in the streets. The second story, Solmaz Solarken, is written by Nilüfer Açıkalın, and she is a contemporary actress, novelist, and short story writer who has published nearly 10 books. In the exposition of the story, Istanbul is described as jewelry that is laid down on God's table, that is one of a kind, unique, and priceless. It's shining bright in the night after the full moon, under the full moon, sorry. The protagonist has arrived in Istanbul after traveling for 22 hours, spending 6 hours in Munich airport and 16 hours in the sky, watching the full moon in two different continents. The protagonist describes her longing for the city. When the plane was up above the city, it was like I had regained my soul, everything occurs randomly in this city, there is always a possibility of an unexpected change. You feel that you are alive, but you are also mortal. The narrator feels that all the lands outside the border of this country are scenes in a movie. When one when one lands on this country, the movie ends. This is the real world in which all people are genie. The rest of the world is of actors and actresses playing their parts in this spectacle. The protagonist finds everything in this country as extremely genuine. The actions of the people are so sincere and natural. When they are angry, they are like bombs which are about to explode. You cannot observe unwilling smiles or artificial gestures on their faces. They act as they feel no matter what role they're in, such as the role of a mother, the role of an officer, a sales assistant, or a friend. There is a twist in the plot when the protagonist admits her suffering from lung cancer. She is rather like a carpe diem woman, trying to enjoy every minute in life, and she accepts an invitation to a party at a friend's house where different sorts of people have gathered and acting in both legal and illegal ways. And the surprise ending of the story occurs when the protagonist falls in love with an undercover policeman. The night ends with a hope for future and with the protagonist's idea that the rest of her life will be filled with love. She relates this unexpected event to the city of Istanbul, a city of miracles. So, as a conclusion, I can say the two contemporary stories were studied in terms of their settings of the city of Istanbul. Both stories deal with the idea of cosmopolitanism in different ways and describe the narrator's longing for a different Istanbul. In Mahursa Semaim, Istanbul is personified as a beloved who used to have a number of positive characteristics but do not anymore. The narrator, realizing that her lover lost the good in him, decides to run away and remember him in the good old days. In the second story, Solmaz Solarken, the setting of Istanbul appears as a city who loved and missed, who she loved and missed. The current condition of the city is described as something being longed for. The chaos, complexity, distress, problems, and arguments are what make this city exciting to the narrator. In both of the stories, Istanbul is described as a metropolis that offers its citizens some kind of negativity. In the former, the protagonist is displeased with the city's condition and wants to run away. In the latter, the protagonist loves the city despite its difficulties and misses to be a part of the chaos. So thank you for listening and hope to be with you in the next conference.